Hi guys, I am making this quick little intro for this video because the next 2 or 3 videos will take place in Oklahoma, where I brought my mare up while I was staying in Texas. I brought her to Wileen's place because I wanted to see her and I wasn't going to be able to for a while, and I do explain that in the beginning of the video, but as you'll notice, there is a couple important parts of footage that are missing because I didn't get to capture them. So I wasn't able to capture her first time saddling or the first time I initially tied her up. And that's just because I either forgot or my phone was dead. Yeah, just wanted to cover that there. I'm really sorry I wasn't able to get that on footage for you guys, but I will let you know that the first saddling was very uneventful. And the first time tying also looks like all of the tying footage that I showed. So hopefully this is still a fun video for you guys to watch, and I will make sure that after these Oklahoma videos I am much better about filming and making sure that I'm able to show you guys everything that we're working on. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. And kind of loaded her like a feral Mustang this morning from the round pen, lined it up, and she pretty much walked right on. On loading about 2 minutes ago, we backed it up to like over there, see my truck, but we're in an enclosed area within the barn and the round pen, and she let off really good, and then about 5 seconds after being off, she decided to use her neck as leverage and get a little scared. Bolt took off, got away from me, kind of just trotted to down over here, and then she let me come up to her, pick up the lead, and then we led into here, and she was really awesome. Hello there, pretty girl. You ground tying? What you doing? Did you go on an adventure last night and this morning? Yeah. You're all right. So I'm super upset, but unfortunately I didn't get her first saddling on film.
We don't need a flag.
I just got in the moment, didn't even think to do it, but really she didn't have much of a reaction.
I'm just using the one that I had right now. Good.
So you can see she's thinking about it with her ears and just looking back at it, but she's not really reacting, which is nice. It's not bugging her all too much. I've seen horses before where they like flip their head back and forth from side to side to check it out, but she's pretty solid with it. And then we worked on some tying. She's really dirty from the night before, and she did get a little bit sweaty. So this is where her downfall is in tying. She needs a lot of work on this. Giving the pressure. I prepared her pretty well by doing some soft tying and then also just getting her giving in the arena, but of course you can't always prepare them for that. So you can tell that this is a lot of pressure on her face, so you're going to see that it kind of gives her some sores afterwards. And then I changed the halter I use for tying and the way that I tie her later on. But I'm just teaching her right now that it's okay for me to just walk around her, walk behind her. She really struggles with me going to that blind point. So I'm just trying to make sure she's okay with me approaching. I'm approaching really slow, rubbing on her. And honestly, so far, up to her current training, this is still what she struggles with most, although she's gotten way, way better. I feel like tying and having people in that blind spot and things coming up behind her is what's a little bit more difficult for her.
Good girl.
Again, I'm super upset that I didn't get her first saddling on video, but I did get her second one, so you guys will be able to see that. And I'm super appreciative of Wileen and being able to use these hard tying posts to give my horse somewhere sturdy to tie to, because it's a really important part of training. And I knew that's kind of what she needed as her next step.
There you go, much better.
So we put the belly rope on her, and you can see she had some reaction to it. Just normal kicking. She never really bucked. She just was like, I don't really like this rope here. I'm going to kick around like that. So those are a couple pictures that some girl was able to snapshot as we were doing that.
So again, working on tying, she's getting a lot softer. She's learning just to turn and give, but you can see how she's kind of beat up her face a little bit, unfortunately. That is just a surface wound. That is just the hair that came off, so luckily that's all it is.
She also did this and that. Come here, let me see the other side of your face. And she did this up here.
I wish I was able to show you guys more, but whenever I go to someone else's facility, I tend to be involved in talking with them more and focusing on just coming up with training techniques together and tackling the horse, so I don't necessarily film, unfortunately.
It looks like it is.
My Oklahoma videos will be a little bit shorter, and you'll kind of be like, well, how'd she get the saddle on? And I'm really sorry that I wasn't able to show you guys that. But it was just like all my other times where I just threw it up there, made sure she was comfortable, and kept putting it on and removing it. So now another important thing that I didn't start doing until roulette is ponying. So Wileen is helping me out here, and I haven't done this with Lynx yet with a feral Mustang. Like, I haven't been the first to pony a feral Mustang on him. So like after this session, I would be okay to pony off of him with her, but I don't know how strong he is, and I don't know how good my timing is with it yet, so that's something I need to work on more. So like you saw with roulette, my friend Katie helped with that, and here I'm having Wileen help. So ponying is really good because you can get that horse to, again, give to that pressure, which she struggles with, that forward pressure, moving into it and getting it off of her halter. And it's also good because now she gets to see what it's like with a human above her and petting above her, and you can see that kind of bugs her a lot. She gets real nervous with it. She kind of gets frustrated. So Wileen is just sticking with the petting until she stays still, and then she can release. So I know a lot of people, or some people, may comment on this and be like, oh, this is your horse, you're supposed to be doing everything. And I have done everything. I just explained the ponying situation, though, and that I don't think Lynx is strong enough, and that is the only horse I have with me right now. Ponying also is something I need to learn more about, but also I really like my horse getting exposed to as many people as possible, as many trainers. So anyone that is willing to put their hands on my horse, I will let them do so, because I want her to have that and get ready for her next owner, her next home, the competition, every experience. It's super important to me, so I am not too proud to be like, I touched this horse all by myself and I didn't have anyone else help me with anything. I definitely think it's important to get advice and have another person look at you working and see if they can have any input or help you out. So after they left the round pen and are just going around the open area, you can see Lynx right there, and they're like pretty much the same size. But she's going pretty well now, giving into that pressure, learning to follow along. So after that session, I just brought her back into the round pen to do some groundwork and get her untacked, because she's probably pretty sweaty under that saddle because she's worn it almost all the day between getting tacked up, moved out, tied up, a little bit of ponying again, and now some groundwork. I want to make sure I give her body some time to cool down before night when it gets cold. So first things first, I'm doing some desensitizing with that lunge whip, getting it around her legs, over her back. You can tell she's really nervous about this. She's not the biggest fan. So I'm going to stick with it, keep the pressure there, keep tossing it over, keep it on her the best I can until she calms down, settles, and stays still, and then I'll remove and reward her. I help her out a little bit by bumping her nose to stay with me. Good, and the very first time she stayed still, I'm going to reward her, take that away, draw her up to me, and go right back into the exercise. So we mainly got past that front end sensitivity, and now we're working on the hind end sensitivity. So the more I can get objects and whips and things touching it before I have to touch it with my hand, the better, because I'll get rid of that kind of jumpy, shaking response and teach her that it's okay and it's not going to hurt her. And I was honestly really surprised, just like I was with the belly rope I did in the prior video. I was surprised that she had no reaction to that hind cinch either. She was actually really good with being tacked up and going around with it. Good, so you can still see she's shaking a little bit when I go over with that whip around her hind end, but she's getting better. Make sure I tap the saddle with it, every noise I can possibly make. And now I'm going to do some patting on the saddle, moving of the stirrups. Just like with everything else, you guys know it's super important to do everything on both sides. And I'm going to make sure I lift up that stirrup and let it fall on her side, because you know I'm going to be mounting and putting my legs in there. So it's important that she has all sorts of feeling on her belly, on the saddle, on her hind end, everywhere. Another thing I like to do, which is way easier with an English saddle, is kind of slap down on the stirrups. And now we're moving on to jumping and putting a little bit of pressure and weight on the saddle. I just want to see how she responds to it tipping on her back some. And I'm working on her releasing her pole now. So I'm pulling down on the lead rope and applying that pressure with my pointer finger and my thumb to where her pole is. I'm just doing little squeezes, and any time that she drops her head, I release. And go right back into the jumping. I'm not thinking she's ready for me to put my foot in quite yet and swing a leg over, and I usually like to get on them bareback the first time, but she did pretty well there, holding my weight. Again, try to do everything on both sides. What I'm also doing is taking my leg and rubbing it all over her front leg and in her girth area. Make sure she gets all the touch feeling. So now I'm going to untack her for the first time. Something I like to do when I untack them is make sure that I can tack them up right away, because some horses will be okay tacking up, and then the next time, if you wait a day to tack them up again, they'll be terrified and be like, oh, okay, work happens and this thing comes off. I don't know how to associate everything. As soon as I untack them for the first time, maybe even the first couple times, I'll throw that saddle blanket back up there. And probably the first and second time, I put the saddle back on as well. Just to make sure and just to practice the motion of that saddle going on. So you can see she gets a little grippy, but she does good. And I don't feel the need to girth her up again, so I'm just going to take it right back off. I was really happy that she stood still, considering her first time being tacked up was only this morning. And yep, you can see those sweat spots from standing out in the sun all day. So I'm going to throw that saddle pad back on and just walk her around for a little bit. Again, we missed the fun part. I got her into the barn, pretty uneventful, and I'm able to hose her down. I also was able to put that bridle back in her mouth. You can see her mane finally got completely de-dreaded. You probably saw that in the earlier parts of the video, and I got it all braided up now. And that was the end of my first day at my little Oklahoma boot camp. Super happy with all of her progress, and I hope you guys stick around to watch the second day here.